Hello, my name is Gary, and I was raised in the western United States, so I'm a native English speaker. I hope that you will enjoy this YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne, 1828 to 1905. Chapter 9. How the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean helped Phileas Fogg with his plans. The distance from Suez to Aden is 1,310 miles, and the company allows the steamers 138 hours to complete the journey. The Mongolia, thanks to the hard work of the engineer, was traveling so fast that it looked like it would arrive much sooner. Most of the passengers from Brindisi were heading to India, some to Bombay, others to Calcutta via Bombay, since the railway now connects the Indian peninsula. Among them were officials and military officers, either part of the British forces or commanding the sepoy troops. Their salaries were quite high. Sub-lieutenants earned £280, brigadiers £2,400, and division generals £4,000. On board the Mongolia, time flew by with the presence of military men, wealthy young Englishmen traveling, and the hospitality of the staff. The ship served excellent meals at breakfast, lunch, dinner, and an evening supper, and the ladies changed outfits twice a day. When the sea was calm, passengers enjoyed music, dancing, and games. However, the Red Sea is unpredictable and often rough. When the wind blew from the African or Asian coast, the Mongolia rolled heavily, causing the ladies to disappear below deck, and the pianos fell silent. Despite the rough conditions, the ship continued steadily toward the Bab-el-Mandeb Straits. As for Phileas Fogg, you might expect he'd be anxiously watching the weather and sea conditions, worried that any disruption could delay his journey. But despite any worries, he showed no outward signs of stress. Consistent as ever, he rarely went on deck and seemed indifferent to the historic towns and villages along the Red Sea or the dangers that ancient sailors feared. How did Fogg spend his time on the Mongolia? He ate his meals regularly and played whist for hours with his enthusiastic partners, a tax collector on his way to Goa, the Reverend Decimus Smith heading to Bombay, and a brigadier general returning to his brigade in Benares. Passepartout, on the other hand, avoided seasickness and enjoyed the trip. He was well-fed, comfortably housed, and interested in the scenery. He hoped his master's unusual adventure would end in Bombay. The day after leaving Suez, he was pleased to meet again with Fix, whom he had talked to on the quays. "If I'm not mistaken," Passepartout said with a friendly smile, "you're the gentleman who kindly offered to guide me at Suez." "Yes, I remember you. You're the servant of the Englishman." "Yes, monsieur. Fix. Mr. Fix," Passepartout continued, "I'm glad to see you on board. Where are you headed?" "Like you, to Bombay." "That's great. Have you made this trip before?" "Several times. I work for the Peninsular Company. Then you know India well." "Yes," Fix replied cautiously. "It sounds fascinating, with mosques, temples, tigers, and elephants. I hope I have time to see it all." "I hope so, Mr. Passepartout. A sensible person shouldn't spend their life jumping from steamer to train and back, trying to circle the globe in 80 days. I'm sure this madness will end in Bombay." "And how's Mr. Fogg doing? I never see your master on deck," Fix asked casually. "Never. He's not curious at all." "Do you think this round-the-world trip might be hiding a secret mission? Maybe a diplomatic one?" "Honestly, Mr. Fix, I don't know anything about that, nor would I care to find out." After their meeting, Passepartout and Fix started chatting regularly. Fix made a point to win Passepartout's trust, often inviting him for a drink of whiskey or beer at the ship's bar. Passepartout always accepted with enthusiasm, considering Fix a great guy. Meanwhile, the Mongolia was moving quickly. On the 13th, they saw Mocha with its ruined walls and date trees, and beyond the coffee fields on the mountains. Passepartout was thrilled to see this famous place. That night, they passed through the Strait of Bab-el-Mandeb, which means the Bridge of Tears in Arabic. The next day, they stopped at Steamer Point, northwest of Aden Harbor, to refuel. Fueling steamers at such a distance from coal mines is expensive, costing the Peninsular Company about £800,000 a year. In these remote areas, coal costs 3 to 4 pounds per ton. The Mongolia had another 1,650 miles to go before reaching Bombay and had to stay at Steamer Point for 4 hours to refuel. However, this delay was anticipated and didn't affect Phileas Fogg's schedule. The ship arrived at Aden on the evening of the 14th, 15 hours earlier than expected. Mr. Fogg and Passepartout went ashore at Aden to have their passports stamped again, while Fix followed them quietly. After getting the visa, Mr. Fogg returned to the ship to continue his usual routine. Passepartout, on the other hand, explored Aden, marveling at the fortifications and the impressive water reservoirs built by English engineers, still in use 2,000 years after Solomon's time. Very interesting, Passepartout thought to himself as he returned to the ship. Traveling is definitely worth it if you want to see new things. At 6 p.m., the Mongolia slowly left the port and resumed its journey across the Indian Ocean. With 168 hours to reach Bombay and favorable conditions, including a northwest wind and smooth sailing, the ship moved comfortably. The ladies reappeared on deck in their fresh outfits, and the music and dancing began again. The trip was going well, and Passepartout was pleased with the chance to spend time with the charming Fix. On Sunday, October 20th, around noon, they saw the Indian coast. 2 hours later, the pilot boarded the ship. The hills of Bombay appeared on the horizon, and soon the rows of palm trees came into view. By 4:30 p.m., the steamer docked at the Bombay quays. Phileas Fogg was finishing a game of whist, having just won all 13 tricks with his partner. The Mongolia was supposed to arrive on the 22nd, but reached Bombay on the 20th. This gave Fogg a 2-day advantage since leaving London, which he noted in his schedule under Gains. Chapter 10. Passepartout is just happy to lose only his shoes. Everyone knows that India is shaped like an upside-down triangle, with its base in the north and point in the south covers 1.4 million square miles and is home to 180 million people. The British Crown rules most of this vast country with strict control, having a Governor-General in Calcutta and governors in Madras, Bombay, and Bengal, along with a lieutenant governor in Agra. However, British India itself only includes 700,000 square miles and a population of 100 to 110 million people. A large part of India is still free from British rule. In the past, traveling in India meant going on foot, horseback, in carriages or wagons. Now, fast steamboats travel on the Indus and the Ganges, and a major railway with branch lines connects Bombay to Calcutta in 3 days. This railway doesn't go straight across India. The direct distance between Bombay and Calcutta is only 1,000 to 1,100 miles, but the railway's route adds over a third to this distance. The main route of the Great Indian Peninsula Railway starts in Bombay, passes through Salsette, crosses the Western Ghats, heads northeast to Burhanpur, goes near Bundeldhand to Allahabad, then east to Benares, and finally southeast through Burdwan and Chandranagore, ending in Calcutta. The passengers of the Mongolia disembarked at 4:30 p.m. and the train for Calcutta would leave at 8 p.m. Mr. Fogg, after saying goodbye to his whist partners, left the steamer, gave his servants some tasks, told him to be at the station by 8 p.m. and walked to the passport office with his usual precise step. He had no interest in seeing the sights of Bombay, its city hall, library, fort, stocks, bazaars, mosques, temples, Armenian churches, or the famous pagoda on Malabar Hill. He didn't care to visit the Elephanta masterpieces, the Buddhist architecture at the Canary Caves on the island of Salsette. After taking care of business at the passport office, Phileas Fogg quietly went to the railway station and ordered dinner. Fix had gone ashore shortly after Mr. Fogg and first headed to the Bombay police headquarters. He introduced himself as a London detective, explained his business in Bombay, and asked nervously if a warrant had arrived from London. It hadn't arrived yet, as there hadn't been enough time for it to reach the office. Fix was very disappointed and tried to get an arrest order from the Bombay police director, but the director refused because only the London office could legally issue such a warrant. Fix accepted this and decided to wait for the important document, but he was determined to keep an eye on the mysterious man as long as he stayed in Bombay. Like Passepartout, Fix was sure that Phileas Fogg would stay in Bombay until the warrant arrived. Passepartout, however, quickly realized after hearing his master's orders that they would be leaving Bombay just like they had left Suez and Paris. The journey would likely extend at least as far as Calcutta, if not further. He began to wonder if Mr. Fogg's bet was serious and if he was really being taken around the world in 80 days. After buying some shirts and shoes, Passepartout took a leisurely walk through the streets filled with people from various backgrounds. Europeans, Persians with pointed caps, Banyas with round turbans, Sindhis with square hats, Parsis with black caps, and long-robed Armenians. It was a Parsi festival day, and the Parsis, who are known for being wealthy, intelligent, and strict, were celebrating with a lively religious carnival. There were processions and shows with Indian dancing girls in rose-colored fabric adorned with gold and silver dancing gracefully to violins and tambourines. Passepartout watched the festivities with wide eyes and open mouth, looking like a complete novice. Unfortunately, his curiosity led him further than he intended. As he was heading back to the station after the festival, he saw the beautiful pagoda on Malabar Hill and felt a strong urge to see its interior. He didn't know that Christians were not allowed to enter certain Indian temples, and that even believers had to leave their shoes outside. The British government strictly enforces respect for local religious practices. Passepartout, thinking it was just a tourist site, went inside and was quickly amazed by the stunning Brahmin decorations. Suddenly he found himself on the ground surrounded by angry priests. They took his shoes and began to beat him with fierce shouts. Passepartout quickly got back on his feet, fought off 2 of the priests with his fists and feet, and ran out of the pagoda, blending into the crowds to escape the 3rd priest. At 5 minutes to 8, Passepartout, hatless and shoeless, and having lost his package of shirts and shoes in the commotion, rushed breathlessly into the station. Fix, who had followed Mr. Fogg to the station and saw that he was really leaving Bombay, was on the platform. Fix decided to follow the supposed robber to Calcutta and beyond if necessary. Passepartout didn't notice Fix, who was hiding in a corner, but Fix heard him briefly describe his adventures to Mr. Fogg. "I hope this doesn't happen again," Phileas Fogg said coldly as he boarded the train. Passepartout, feeling defeated, followed his master in silence. Fix was about to get another carriage when he had a new idea that made him change his plan. "No, I'll stay," he muttered. "An offense has been committed here in India. I've got my man." Just then the locomotive let out a loud whistle, and the train moved into the darkness of the night.